And I have heard state representatives tell the industry that she considered everyone in that room to be an environmentalist, and within the same breath promote coal development in Texas and state that Texas's air is now cleaner than it has been in 30 years. And I simply cannot accept this as being true. This is a state that clearly needs your involvement. We live in a county that promotes conservation to the average citizen, but that sells hundreds of thousands of gallons of our clean drinking water at a discounted rate to this industry, which we will never be able to use for drinking water again. And perhaps that is because eventually we expect to be paying $5 a gallon for our water instead of $5 a gallon for our oil. And perhaps that is the next industry that will overtake America. Usually the rule is that those who know don't care, and those who care don't know. But we here know, and we care. Natural gas may be clean burning, but that is an irrelevant fact because it is not clean to obtain and it is not clean to process. I truly hope that this is not a token gesture and that we are not just here spending your time and spending our time to ask for help, but that we are actually going to see some involvement here from a regulatory agency that has the citizens and the taxpayers' personal health, which is an economic issue, and our environment in mind. I appreciate your time.
Good evening. I'm Barbara Corbel. I'm speaking as a resident of Fort Worth and Tarrant County, Texas, and I want to thank you so much for holding this public hearing and for your great patience in listening to speaker after speaker. And I feel the comments that have been made thus far have been really enlightening, and I'm so glad that people have come to this hearing today. I first had concerns about air quality in Fort Worth, Texas, when I first moved there from Denton, Texas, and that was over 20 years ago. I didn't have any previous history of serious allergy or asthma symptoms, but when I moved to Fort Worth from Denton, which is only about 30 miles or so south, I began having health problems that I subsequently had to seek treatment for, and since that time I've had to be treated for asthma on a continuing basis. So I think you are well aware, and the rest of us are well aware, that there's already a problem with air quality in Fort Worth and in the North Texas region, since it's long been a non-attainment region for air quality. And it's been hard for me to understand how it is that the gas industry has been able to move in without really having to meet any significant regulations, particularly in this area that is already a non-attainment region for air quality. And as a resident who suffers from asthma, I'm concerned when I read about the abnormally high number of children who are now suffering from asthma in this region. There really must be stricter regulations and investigation into the causes for this, but we must have stricter air emission regulations for the industries in this area, but particularly the oil and gas industry, which has been noted numerous times, is effectively self-regulating itself. And so I'm appealing to the EPA to implement the regulations that are needed. I'm also concerned that there's really been a significant failure by municipal and state authorities to adequately safeguard the health of the public in this natural gas drilling area prior to the commencement of drilling activities. I mean, there was really, municipal regulations hadn't even been developed before drilling commenced effectively, and we've been continually trying to play catch up ever since. And as it's already been noted, that municipalities have limited authority, and the state authorities do not seem to be stepping in, nor are they adequately staffed to provide the adequate enforcement. The excuse always seems to be that this industry is simply exempt from the existing regulations. So therefore, the regulations need to be strengthened. I also think it has been noted, but should be reiterated, that the recent drilling activity in North Texas is really unprecedented in its impact and direct proximity to residential areas. Many people have noted how close drilling activity is to their houses and to their businesses. And I'm also concerned that we have outlying areas in our county that have little or no regulatory controls, even less than municipalities have tried to implement. Again, there is a need for environmental justice. We have residents of our minority communities who have spoken out today, and they have too long been on the front lines of suffering the effects from environmental pollution in their communities. And our rural communities, too, are becoming a dumping ground for the saltwater injection wells, since they are basically not allowed within municipalities, within few municipalities at this time. There's the frac ponds and other effects of the gas drilling industry. The death of livestock that's been reported in the news is a really tangible sign that our human health of our communities is also threatened, just as the animals are. One thing I would like to touch on briefly that I don't know has been mentioned yet, related to air quality, is the loss of trees to the drilling operations. It's well known that mature trees have a significant impact on air quality because they absorb toxins and pollution in their leaves. And some, but not all, local communities have tree preservation ordinances. Basically, the ordinances that have been implemented stipulate that a percentage of removed trees will be replaced. However, these are immature trees that are used as replacement trees, and they will take years to grow into a sufficient size to have the same beneficial impact on air quality as the trees that were removed had. Another thing that I wanted to touch on is the concerns that we have about cancer in our community. Just today, I listened to a national talk show, Diane Reham's talk show, REHM, and you can find out about her show today online. One of the subjects they talked about today was bladder cancer, noting that it is the 5th most commonly diagnosed cancer in the United States today, and it is one of the most expensive to treat because it is a recurring cancer. One of their panel members was Sandra Steingraber, who's a biologist, and she's the author of Living Downstream, an ecologist's personal investigation of cancer and the environment. And one of her questions is why known carcinogens continue to be used in industry. She specifically brought up the natural gas fracking process and its use of injected chemicals such as benzene and other chemicals that have been specifically linked to bladder cancer. And I'm particularly concerned about the impact of leaking frac ponds, the saltwater injection wells, and the chemicals that are used in fracking water. And in general, these chemicals have not been disclosed due to the industry's proprietary reasons. So I'm requesting that the EPA step in, develop the regulatory controls that are needed for an industry that has been largely left to regulate itself. And please follow up with additional hearings to address our concerns about water and ground pollution that are related to this industry. And I thank you for your efforts on behalf of air quality in our city. Thank you.
A couple of things are going to happen here. We were due to close at 10 o'clock. We've gotten the agreement from the good folks here in Arlington to allow us to go a bit longer. And one of our guys, though, who's from out of state, has got a transportation issue that he's got to deal with right now at 10 o'clock. So Bill Harnett is going to lead the panel. Penny, do you feel like stepping in for a few minutes? Just up on the panel for us for the rest of it, if you can. So we've got a few more speakers. Actually, I believe Daniel O'Leary would be next. Is Daniel here? We also have 4 people that spoke this afternoon that wanted to come back, and we have them as well. And if they would be willing to do another 5 minutes, that would be great. So maybe Bill Ellis. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Well, actually, before we do Bill Ellis, let me just ask: is there anyone else here who wanted to speak who has not? And
I signed up that I did not speak.
I'm sorry. Well, then please come down and speak and just tell us your name. You can.
My name is Doreen Geiger. I'm a concerned citizen from Fort Worth, Texas.
Is Geiger?
Like a counter.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for developing these new important regulations. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas, where last week our city council approved a waiver for gas drilling to be done 157 feet from an apartment complex. This city council has approved 99.99% of all waivers that have been requested of it. But due to the advocacy of many people you've heard from tonight, this city council tomorrow night will be voting to issue a contract with a company to do an independent study of air quality in Fort Worth. And they have kind of put a long timeline on that study, but many of these people you heard from will be speaking at the council meeting tomorrow night to ask that timeline be shortened, and we will be sure that those results get to you. I have never signed a gas lease, but last night I attended a meeting of Chesapeake Public Relations staff who were briefing my neighbors of their plans for the 25 wells to be drilled in West Fort Worth near me. I asked Chesapeake to guarantee to install a vapor recovery unit on each vent to capture emissions from this drill site. They said the emissions from the Barnett Shale did not need to be captured anywhere in the Barnett. They said they would know if emissions needed to be captured, and if they needed to be captured, then they would do so. I thought that was a little odd. And I certainly don't trust that the industry would be the ones that should be making that decision. I would encourage you, instead of these 4 new regulations, I would encourage you to put a long list of regulations together. Because as many people have said, if it is not actually on paper as a regulation, it will never be done and it will not be enforceable. I wondered about some, such as requiring the gas industry to submit a complete list of all chemicals used at each drill site to the EPA and the TCEQ. I also wondered about adding one requiring the gas industry to add odor to all gas before transporting it through pipelines. I also wondered about requiring them to recycle the water used in the fracking process. At the